There's a worldwide matcha shortage, and it's going to start leading to major changes in how matcha is consumed around the globe. With increased interest for this magical green drink growing every year, farmers are struggling to keep up with the demand. In this video, we're going to investigate what caused this shortage and why it's not likely to get better anytime soon. Back in 2018, I took my first trip to Japan with Neo Teas. I wanted to learn more about Japanese green tea, which at the time was still a niche obsession. I met with tea farmers in Shizuoka to learn about how matcha is grown and produced, and I tasted teas with them to see how small changes in the production can lead to noticeable changes in flavor. In 2010, the entire country of Japan was only producing 1,471 tons of matcha per year. By 2023, 4,176 tons were being produced, and almost half of it was being sold abroad, compared to just a small percentage before. Despite almost producing 3 times as much matcha, the matcha shortage was getting worse every year. To understand the matcha shortage, it's important to learn what matcha is and how it's made. Matcha is essentially made from powdered green tea leaves, but if you were to grind normal tea leaves into a powder, it would become extremely bitter. For this reason, farmers must follow a specific process to make sure the powdered tea tastes good enough to drink plain. First, the tea plants are shaded with a special type of netting 3 weeks before the harvest. When the tea plant is exposed to sunlight, it begins to convert the sweet and savory amino acids into bitter catechins. To produce a smoother tasting tea, the farmer will cut the plant off from sunlight. The plant will in turn produce more chlorophyll in order to compensate, and this will make the leaves a darker shade of green. This is one of the many reasons why high quality matcha often has a greener color to it. Next, the top leaves of the tea plant are harvested, as these are the highest in nutrients and sweetest in flavor. The leaves are gathered up to be steamed and dried. One of the things that makes matcha unique is that the stems are removed from the tea leaves. These yellowish stems would detract from the flavor and color of the matcha, so they need to be taken out. This is another reason why high quality matcha has a greener color. After the stems are removed, the leaves are referred to as tencha, and they are one step away from becoming matcha. The leaves then need to be ground into a fine powder in a large stone mill. These mills are carefully carved out of granite, so they are very expensive and very heavy. It takes this mill an hour just to produce 50 grams of this precious matcha powder. The first issue with increasing the supply of matcha tea is the tea plants themselves. It's not as simple as just growing more tea plants. Visiting farmers in southern Japan, we learned that oftentimes they have a nursery area for their youngest tea plants. These tea plants take about 4 to 5 years before they reach maturity, and even then, the yields are very low. Farmers cannot grow more 5-year-old tea plants. They can only grow new seedlings, so even if they start planting now, it will take years for the supply to catch up. So if a farmer wants to produce more matcha, they need to first secure the land, and then once they plant, they will still need to wait another 4 to 5 years until they can start producing more matcha. But that just gets you the tea plants. Then they need to be picked. Between 2000 and 2020, Japan has lost 53,000 tea farmers to retirement. Traditionally, the younger generations would take over their parents' profession, but it seems working as a tea farmer is not as desirable of a job in the digital age. In 2019, we traveled all across Japan, meeting with tea farmers in search of the best tasting pesticide-free teas for neoteas.com. We not only asked questions about tea cultivation, we also asked them what obstacles they see the tea industry facing in the near future. They all told us the same thing. Younger people didn't seem as interested in the traditional methods used to produce premium Japanese green teas. They were alarmed by the growth of bottled teas, instant teas, and coffee, which provided a convenience and a price that their tea just couldn't compete with. They have spent generations learning how to produce the best tasting loose-leaf teas, a meticulous process that requires the utmost skill and precision. If the world no longer appreciated this skill, it would start to threaten their way of life. It was from this moment on that I made it my mission to teach as many people as possible about all the work that goes into producing these traditional Japanese teas. We made as many videos and blog articles as we could, telling the stories of the farmers we worked with, about the dedication they had to their craft, and the bravery to resist modern conveniences like tea bags, pesticides, and chemical fertilizers. They are committed to growing tea the right way, and we wanted to honor that. Even with all the interest we were getting from people all around the world, I still wondered if it would be enough. I was worried that the world was moving on, and the traditional Japanese tea industry would be left behind. We never could have predicted what would happen next. Matcha became a global sensation. It was reported that in 2023, the UK saw a 202% increase in matcha drink consumption, and interest for matcha continues to grow around 10% every year. It seemed our wildest dreams had come true, as people all around the world began to take an interest in traditional Japanese green tea. But now, we at Neo Teas are faced with a new reality. Perhaps matcha is becoming too popular. But why has it become so popular? Matcha has a lot of things going for it. Its origins trace back to the Tang dynasty in China, but it really first became popular due to its use in the Japanese tea ceremony, so its very name conjures up images of refinement and elegance. The tea comes in powdered form, which means it can be mixed into just about anything. Cakes, cookies, ice cream, and lattes are all some popular options. High-quality matcha has a super green color to it, so it's visually striking and it has some impressive health benefits as well. Unlike other teas, when you drink matcha, you're consuming the entire leaf along with all of its nutrients. This means that you're getting more antioxidants, polyphenols, vitamins, and chlorophyll per sip of this tea than with any other. Lots of superfoods have antioxidants, but what makes matcha unique is that you feel the impact right away. Matcha drinkers report having this longer-lasting, calm alert sensation throughout the day, without the crash or jitters normally associated with coffee. This is likely due to the combination of caffeine and L-theanine, which is thought to slow the absorption of caffeine and reduce some of its negative side effects. L-theanine could also help stimulate alpha brainwave activity, the same brainwave stimulated during long periods of meditation. There is a reason why the Japanese monks were some of the first to drink matcha tea. They found it helped keep them focused during meditation. But farmers and tea plants are not enough to produce matcha. You also need the specialized machinery. When we met with Mr. Sakamoto in Shibushi, he let us tour his Matcha Mill. He recently invested in 3 granite mills, which can cost up to $5,000 each. This is a huge capital expense for a tea farmer, and as we mentioned before, it takes an hour just to produce 50 grams of matcha. That's only 12 matcha lattes per hour. To produce premium matcha, these mills are absolutely necessary. The large network of grooves can grind the tea into a finer and finer powder, so the finished matcha is between 5 and 10 microns in diameter, leading to an ultra-fine consistency. Just for reference, some matcha particles are even smaller than a red blood cell and would be invisible to the naked eye. That's how fine they are. If they are larger, you can start to feel a grainy texture when you drink the tea. The stone mill also keeps the temperature low. A metal machine, for example, would reach too high of a temperature and roast the matcha as it's being ground, affecting the flavor and the nutrients. There are other machines as well that are specialized for producing matcha, like the stem separators, which you better believe are in short supply right now. There's even a shortage of matcha packaging. Because matcha is ground into such a fine powder, it's extremely sensitive to light, heat, and humidity, so it has a short shelf life as well. This means that farmers can't stockpile matcha. They can only stockpile the Tencha leaves. The tea harvest normally takes place in late March or early April, so we will start to see some new matcha coming into the market soon, but this is both a blessing and a curse. While the matcha shortage may subside temporarily by the summer, it will start back up again by the time fall comes around. With so much demand, the matcha harvest will run out sooner in the year, and the world will have to wait even more months without matcha than it did in 2024. And even the seasons themselves are becoming more unpredictable. With rapid changes in the weather and climate, it's harder than ever for farmers to time the harvest. Japan's largest tea growing region, Shizuoka, is a bit too far north for tea to grow naturally. It needs constant attention in order for the leaves to be kept safe from frost. Farmers use fans to circulate warm air onto the plants and water pumps to keep the temperatures above freezing. With spring coming so early, the chances of frost hurting the tea plants are increased, and the yields are suffering. The chances of storms and typhoons are also increased, which presents additional challenges and risks for the farmers. More and more things need to go right in order to have a successful tea harvest in the spring. So as you can see, Japan has a shortage of tea plants, tea farmers, and tea machinery, and the global thirst for matcha is growing every year, so it's only natural that there's a shortage. We've been working with our farmers over the past few months to make sure that we continue supplying all of our customers with their favorite matchas. Because we have long-standing relationships with these farmers going back a full decade, we will be able to keep up with the growing demand of best-selling matchas like the Masuda Kyoto Matcha, Makinohara, Sakamoto Matcha, and Shiran Premium. Just don't be too surprised if you see a few matchas out of stock on our website. The supply will be a bit unpredictable for a while. If you see your favorite one available on the website, be sure to stock up on it so you can make sure that you have a constant supply. There's only a few farmers left that can produce these high-quality matchas, and once they're sold out for the year, they're gone for good. It's also important to point out the difference between low-quality versus high-quality matcha, as the supply for low-quality matcha is far more elastic. Certain steps can be skipped to produce low-quality matcha. The tea can come from later harvests with lower nutrients, the stems may not be removed, and the matcha may not be stone ground. The result is a matcha that's more bitter, duller in color, and lower in L-theanine. This tea may be too bitter to drink plain, but it can work great in lattes. It will be easier to produce larger quantities of these matcha, but the production of premium matcha tea will be more fixed. If you want to find a premium latte matcha, you can try this one from Mr. Masuda, which is grown without pesticides or chemicals. It's made using all the same steps as premium matcha, but it's made from a later harvest, so the tea is just a little bit more bitter, making it the perfect pairing for milk and sugar. It may be best to save the premium matcha teas for plain drinking and use this more abundant latte-grade matcha for lattes from now on. Anyways, I hope you found this video helpful. Please don't worry too much about the matcha shortage. That's our problem to worry about. Just make sure you check out our website, neoteas.com, periodically to make sure you're able to find your favorite matcha teas. If you have any questions about matcha, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Until then, we'll see you next time.